Hello, welcome to the MoneySavingExpert.com down and dirty guide to cash ISAs. What I want to do now is try and explain how a cash ISA works, and then I'm going to take some of your more complicated questions towards the end. But the big point about a cash ISA is don't worry about it too much. If I could hypnotise the nation, I would say every time you read the word cash ISA, or NISA as it's going to be called, from July 2014, instead you should just see a savings account you don't pay tax on. That's all a cash ISA is. It's a savings account you don't pay tax on. So just as there are easy access savings accounts where you can take your money out straight away, there are easy access cash ISAs where you can take your money out straight away. Just as there are fixed rate savings accounts where you lock in to get a higher rate, there are fixed rate cash ISAs where you lock in to get a higher rate. Just as there are regular savings accounts where you can pay in each month to get a higher rate, there are regular saving cash ISAs where you can pay in each month to get a higher rate. What's the difference? Well, quite simply, inside a cash ISA, your interest is not taxed. So, if you were to earn £100 worth of interest in a normal savings account, if you're a basic rate taxpayer, the taxman would take 20% of that. So you'd get 100 quid, but you would only receive 80. As a higher rate taxpayer, you get 100 quid, but really you'd only receive 60 because it's 40% tax. In a cash ISA, you get the entire 100 quid. So as long as the rates are similar, a cash ISA is nicer. And in fact, generally, cash ISA rates tend to be a little higher than normal savings rates. So on a like-for-like comparison, you don't pay tax, and sometimes the rate is better too. Now, of course, if you put your money into a pants-paying cash ISA at a terribly low rate of interest, well then still, getting a tax gain on nothing is still nothing, so that's not worth it, which is why it's all about making sure your money is constantly in the best buy cash ISAs. Now, on that point, what's very important to understand is once you put your money in an ISA, don't think that you're stuck with that provider. You have a right to transfer it. Now, one of the problems is people take their money out to transfer it. Don't do that. You lose the tax-free status. Instead, what you do is you go to your new provider and you say, will you move my ISA across for me? And they transfer it, and that keeps it in the ISA wrapper. So hopefully that gives you the sort of conceptual picture of how an ISA works, and you can read far more in the guide. You're probably on the page right now. If you're not, it's moneysavingexpert.com/cash ISA, and read the details of what the rules are each year. Now I'm going to start to take some of your questions. If I put money in now, what happens on the 1st of July? Okay, so if you're watching this after that point, you'll realise when we film this. On the 1st of July, it's big change day for ISAs. The ISA becomes the new ISA, or the NISA. So, currently, you can put £5,940 into a cash ISA for the 2014-15 tax year. On the 1st of July, you're going to be able to put £15,000 in. And that means suddenly you've got a much bigger ISA allowance, because from the 1st of July you can put all the money into cash. So what happens? Well, if you open one right now, you can just top it up on the 1st of July. It's not that you have to open a new one, it's not that it's any different. Now, there are some questions still remaining about this, which is, for example, if you open a fix today, will they allow you to top it up on the 1st of July? Most of those that we're talking to are saying yes, they will, but you should check it out with each individual provider if you are choosing to open a fixed rate. My next question. I've got several ISAs from previous years. Can I put them all into one? Yes, quite simply, it's consolidating a cash ISA, and I would say it's quite a good technique too, because if you've got all your cash ISAs in one place, because we know that with variable rate ISAs, the rates can drop, you might need to transfer them, and if you've got 20 different ISAs, you couldn't actually have that many because there haven't been that many years since, but let's say, if you've got a lot of cash ISAs, it's a difficult job to transfer each one, but if they're all in one place and you consolidate, you can move them across quite easily. Next question, someone's asking me, how many cash ISAs can I have? Well, you can only open one cash ISA and one shares ISA in the current year. But you could have a different ISA for each different past year, and they've been going, I think, since 1999. So that's about 15 different ones. More so, you can actually split past year's cash ISAs. So if you had money in an old cash ISA and you wanted to transfer half of it into the best easy access payer and half of it into the best fixed payer, you could. So in effect, you could have a lot of different ISAs if you so choose. I mean, you could have hundreds. I'm not sure you'd want to, but you could do. But only one cash and 1 shares for the current year, 2014-15, when we're recording this. Next question. Rates are so low, is it even worth saving in an ISA when I can earn more in current accounts? Well, this is a big interesting question at the moment, and I've blogged up elsewhere on the site that you can read. It is a difficult one. At the moment, we have some loss-leading bank accounts paying up to 5% interest. You have to switch bank account to do it, it's a hassle, but if you've got that amount of money, those are the best payers. And even after tax, 5% before tax is bringing you down to around 4% and 3%, 4% for a basic rate taxpayer, 3% for a higher rate taxpayer, which is what you're earning after tax, which beats most ISAs, even the top paying fixed accounts. However, by putting your money in an ISA, you're not just protecting it this year, you're protecting it from tax year after year. And when interest rates in ISAs bounce back, you'll be very glad that you've got, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds, if you're lucky, saved away inside a cash ISA that's protected year after year. So in the short term, the current accounts win. In the long term, I would hedge towards having your money in a cash ISA so it's protected from the taxman. One technique you could use is you could put your money for this year, the 2014-15 year, in the top bank account until right before the end of the year, say the 1st of April 2015, and then on the 1st of April 2015, that's the date you open an ISA to use your ISA allowance. That way you bag the short-term interest gain, but you still get to use your ISA allowance at the end of the year. Next question on my piece of paper. Can I transfer my ISA to someone else? No. Quite simply, an ISA only belongs to an individual. It cannot be moved. It doesn't work that way. Should I offset my mortgage instead of putting cash into an ISA? Very simple answer here. You compare your ISA returns, because there are no tax, with your mortgage rate. If your mortgage rate is higher, then the net effect of paying off your mortgage earns you more than your ISA. Of course, if you're paying off the mortgage, you should make sure there are no penalties and you've got a decent cash emergency fund, say 6 months worth of bills, which you could keep in an ISA, for example, but you should do that before paying off your mortgage. But it's a simple equation. If you've got a very cheap mortgage, you're probably better off putting it in a cash ISA. If you've got an expensive mortgage, you're better off paying off the mortgage in general. Next question, can I open a joint ISA with my partner? No, no such thing as joint ISAs. A relative has passed away and left cash in an ISA. Very sorry to hear that. What happens to it? Okay, once you notify the bank of somebody's death, the ISA is then moved into a normal taxable savings account that becomes part of the estate. The ISA does not continue after death. There have actually been some political campaigns saying that it should do for at least 6 months or a year, but that hasn't happened yet. You never know. It might do. The ISA allowance increases in July. Should I wait until then to open one? I presume the reason for asking that question is that there's some surmise that in July, because there'll be a lot of publicity around ISAs, we will see rates jump. Now, in the ISA season at the end of the year, so around April, we normally see that happen, but we haven't seen that happen this year. So I think it's a bit of wishful thinking to hope that in July we're going to see any substantial rate rise. We could have 1 or 2 slightly better products. What I would do if I had the cash is I'd open my cash ISA now. If you're really worried about it, put it in an easy access product, which means you could transfer it no problem in July. And then the only risk is that the very best buy in July is one for just new money, not for new money and transfers. So you would then be stuck with moving to the best one that does allow transfers to move your cash in. But on balance, I think you'll probably gain more by having the cash in an ISA now than you would by waiting till July. But I don't know that because I'd need a crystal ball. That's just my guess. You have to make your own judgment on it. I'm a non-taxpayer. Should I bother with an ISA when it makes no difference? Of course, there's no tax gain putting your money in an ISA if you don't pay tax anyway. But some cash ISAs pay better than top savings, so you may as well open it if it has a higher rate. And also, if you're going to become a taxpayer again, for example, you're on maternity leave and not working for a few years and don't have much income, but you plan to go back to work and will be a taxpayer again, then in that case, putting your money in an ISA now means once you are working, that interest will be protected from tax. So it's not quite as simple as it doesn't really matter. Can I set up a monthly standing order into my ISA? Yes. It does depend on the particular ISA. Some providers, some fixed rate ISA providers certainly may say no, but as a general principle there's nothing in the ISA rules stopping you, and in fact there are some special regular saver cash ISAs which pay you a higher rate and only allow you to put a certain amount in month after month after month. I haven't had the full allowance in my ISA for a full year. Will I get any interest? You get paid interest for every day that you have the money in your account. It's as simple as that. So if you've had it in for 2 weeks, at the end of the year, you'll get 2 weeks interest. If you've had £100 in for 6 months, and then you've had £1,000 in for the remainder, you'll get the interest on £100 for 6 months, and you'll get the interest on £1,000 for the remainder. It doesn't matter, it's not like they suddenly pay it at the end of the year. I presume this question comes from you have an annual interest ISA, so you just see the money lumped in. Well, they don't give you the interest based on how much you've got in on the day they pay you the interest. That's sort of accumulated in the back, if you like, in some form of calculation, then given to you at the end of the year. And the final question, if I take money out of my ISA, do I then pay tax on it at the usual rate? Yes, you do, but let me be very clear about this because I know this confuses many people. For every day the money is in your ISA, you do not pay tax on the interest. The day you take it out, from that day onwards, you do pay tax on the interest, but you don't retrospectively pay tax for the time it was in an ISA. So if I've had money in an ISA for 10 years, and I took it out 2 weeks ago, I will pay tax on the last 2 weeks worth of interest, not on the prior 10 years worth of interest. Right, that was a bit of a mammoth session. I hope it's been useful for you. Do remember, in general, as long as rates are the same, your money is nicer in a cash ISA. And if you're watching this after the 1st of July, when the name has been changed to a NISA, I'm afraid the Chancellor has ruined my rhyme because I can't say your money is nicer in a NISA. It makes no sense, but I think you get the point.